Welcome back, viewers at home. Now, bringing invaluable insight into how organizations can truly make a difference during Mental Health Awareness Month and beyond the month itself. I am joined by the wellness expert, or rather, award-winning wellness expert, Ronald Abvajee. Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah so much for joining us.
Wa alaikum salam, and it's just fantastic always being with you.
Always a pleasure, because I'm just looking forward in how we can always make the world a better place through health, I guess. And with that, I want to ask you my first question for tonight, which is how can organization move past awareness campaigns to something more tangible, like providing ongoing mental health support for their workforce?
So we know that mental health and mental health systems, programs, and solutions form part of a wellness offering. So the number one thing that is an opportunity for companies, that what if you treated your employees' wellness like you treat your revenue, where it's not part of when something goes wrong or because we need to, because it was corporate wellness week last week, there's a wellness day, but actually becomes part of your company operations. So we shift from having it as a program to creating mental health systems in your business. That's an opportunity. Because did you know that when you look at how you enable managers, how you support your teams and your staff with mental health, that according to the World Health Organization, that you can increase productivity by 25% by having a structured and and matured mental health system in your business.
And speaking about those systems, and since we're trying to have a very, give solutions out there, what would you say are some of those systems that can help companies provide, the mental health assistance without really compromising employee privacy? Because you find that sometimes things tend to run the corridors.
I love that, because privacy is the number one concern that many employees have. Now, as we talk about companies, I just want to share, this is not just big enterprise companies. This is also for SMMEs. SMMEs have the opportunity to improve revenue and productivity by looking after employee wellness. So it's a solution for all. Now, privacy. We know that we are governed by POPIA, and we know that we are very protective over our data. But so is your company, and so is the wellness system that they have in place. They're also governed by the same POPIA requirements. So confidentiality is an ethical requirement of a wellness program. And I know that many employees, some of the data, Deloitte also did a survey, and their survey and research stated that employees, because of privacy concerns, only engage with HR at 35% when it comes to wellness issues. 35% of the employee group. But do you know that is 2x when it comes from the manager, because it's more trusting and there's a higher degree of confidentiality. And what we as companies need to be aware of is that at a base level for wellness, having a short-term counseling program, some people call it an employee assistance program, a psychosocial call center, where you can phonella, and you can chat to a counselor to deal with a psychosocial issue. Strain, stress, financial, emotional, mental, physical issues, and they will counsel you for the short term. And some companies open up counseling sessions to individuals and family members. But please note that they are governed by an association called IAPA, which is the Employee Assistance Professional Association. I think later we'll watch a video by the president of IAPA. And they are governed by this ethical requirement as clinicians and as organizations. But companies need to use the magic as you go to the level beyond the next when it comes to wellness systems and mental health systems in your workplace, is to proactively share communications and let it be HR owned but leader led. Because now if your leader begins to share and mirrors the behavior that is expected, and you've built this into your company operation system, you're sitting with the ingredient of driving privacy awareness, and people will utilize the service more.
And I love the fact that you mentioned SMMEs, because from time to time we always target, or it seems like we're targeting the big giants. But for SMMEs, are there any cost-effective solutions where they can look into in terms of incorporating that mental health aspect within the organization, and most importantly, seeing that most mental health initiatives are mainly outsourced? As you're saying, you phone the call center not to say you want something or you lost something, but this is how you're feeling. Where is the integration of the organization getting that feedback so they can utilize it in enhancing that employee without the employee feeling like there's a breach in privacy?
Absolutely. So there's two parts of the question, right? The first part is tools and solutions for SMMEs. Now, yes, big corporates have this program. They call it employee assistance programs, employee health and wellness programs, or employee health and wellness programs, right? And it's a multitude because they allocate budget to it. On average, you look at 30 to 50 rand per employee, and then fee for service based on interventions. Now, SMMEs are concerned about budget, revenue, and for us to allocate even a few hundred rand to a service, many employees and employers have the mindset of, I'm paying you, you're in a position, deliver on your job and then go home, right? But the workplace has shifted. We can no longer do things in a legacy thinking way, the way we've always done them. We need to step up and step in to what's relevant and resonant with employees and workplaces. And when you marry that, you will equate that to revenue and money in your bank account. That's my MBA. Money in bank account.
Okay.
So what is available for them? There are free call centers out there. South African Depression and Anxiety Group, wonderful guests on the show often that share what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's a free call center outlet, but you don't get data as an organization. We as a business, HL Consulting, saw it as a gap, and we stepped in to offer a cost-effective solution that not only reactively supports employees, but proactively supports the leader with team connection. Thus, well-being becomes part of that. And do you know that University of Berkeley has documented that entrepreneurs or founders of businesses, SMMEs, more often than not, have a 75% vulnerability towards having a mental health issue. So we look at supporting the leader, and supporting the leader and the team is where our magic lies.
Okay.
Now, what does that data mean is the second part of your question.
Yeah.
For big companies or small companies, that data is aggregated data. And when you get aggregated data, it means it's not individualized information. So that aggregated data allows you to curate a solution that is relevant right now. So if your employees, for example, we didn't have water in Johannesburg or many areas last week for 2 days. We knew it was coming because there were announcements.
Yeah.
Proactively, if we emotionally prepared employees as to what they could expect, it's okay, maybe we get sponsorship by Underarm, I don't know, but something proactive, you can create an intervention that holds a space that immediately your employees feel connected and cared for as individuals and as a collective, which means you can be able to utilize that connection to drive, revenue business in a way that is not draining, but rather filling.
And I know you mentioned this last week, but I think it's always refreshing to have something that serves as a reminder to remind us on a very important aspect in terms of this idea of leader-led. What impact do managers have on normalizing mental health support in the workplace itself?
Critical. Often as leaders and managers, based on legacy thinking, on what we've always been told or thought or read, that leaders are invincible, we don't feel, we do. We are seen as the iconic leaders in business. But what we're realizing now is that leaders also experience the same. Managers become your secret weapons. When I say leaders, I don't just mean the owners of the business or C-suite. I'm talking about managers as well. Because managers, bear a lot of the brunt higher up, being answerable to leaders and delivering shareholder value, and lower down to manage the team to deliver to get that shareholder value. So what the science is now showing us, and what the research from World Health Organization, McKinsey Health, and Deloitte, and especially the Harvard Medical Review and Business Review, what they're saying is that vulnerability and leaders being open to sharing their mental health concerns, their struggles in wellness and mental health, has been shown to build deeper connection with employees, and it shows that a 35% increase in resilience scores, team alignment scores, and of course productivity as well, which is the lagging indicator. So the impact is great if leaders now own the fact that, yes, you have the title CEO, chief of this, whatever you want your title to be, but you're still a human. And you have humans in your organization, and how do you share with them vulnerably? Because then we build resonance with each other, and that means that we can understand, and it's like walking in the leader's shoes, and the leader's walking in your shoes. Contextual relevance is critical to drive the output that we're seeking in business.
And they don't see you as just this invincible. They see you as a fellow human in that sense, because I'm not going through this alone. I'm not delusional in that sense. But with that being said, Ronald, what changes do you foresee in the future when, companies begin to integrate and really prioritize mental health within the organization or organizational culture?
I see it being very much a hybrid or an integration of technology interventions with human interventions. Okay. So when I speak to that, I speak to meeting the generational blend in a business. because many of the Gen X's and Gen Z's and Gen Z's and millennials, there's different nuances that impact them.
Yeah.
And many companies have not figured that out yet, so it's causing frustration in the older generation of millennials and, above that, that's where I sit, right? So we need to understand these things. But here's what I see. AI has shifted from being not just predictive or as a large language model. AI has shifted into becoming adaptive. And when you utilize adaptive AI, you could actually, many people utilize it, and companies are going to be utilizing it to stack micro counseling. So immediately you can get that support. Then hyper personalization for individuals is where it becomes even more important, because if I do a mass emailer to the company on depression,
Yeah.
how do I know everyone's dealing with that? But if I do it, you get it. I get a depression one because I live with depression. You get one based on financial well-being because you want to get the paper in the bank, girl.
Yeah.
Then you do others that are based on toxic workplaces, family issues. You hyper-personalize so that the people have it resonate with them, and it becomes absolutely essential in their lives now. So hyper-personalization and technology interventions married to in-person interventions, that's where it's headed towards. And finally, to create managers to be enabled and empowered, not as counselors, but as mental health first aiders, to begin to identify signs and symptoms. That is an underestimated opportunity.
I'm loving the idea of having them as first aiders, because we understand when you're doing first aid, you understand the responsibility you have, but also the limitations that help you know that I know when to seek help and I know where to navigate this person to best get assistance beyond what I can provide in the sense. And with that being said, how can organizations ensure that employees actually prioritize mental health, and that in them prioritizing this, it won't harm their professional growth?
So one is the confidentiality component is critical, and of course privacy. So privacy is that if I share with you, I'm not going to be punitively being held to account. So many employees feel that if they go to HR, they will be punished or it will be held against them when it comes to performance reviews, or would they be worked out of the business because you are a risk. We don't want to deal with this. So it's no longer about a soft skill, it's really about an essential skill, and it's a human skill that is needed. So when we look at these kinds of things, I always say, employees, you're accountable for your health, mentally, physically, emotionally, financially. You are accountable. But are we as business owners and entrepreneurs and leaders in big business, are we creating the operational system that's integrated to let employees feel safe to share and to own and to find support and assistance without them feeling like they will be held back? And that is the gap that is needed, that we need to fill.
Ronald, I want us to just take a break for a few seconds and just tune in to a people engagement specialist that you indicated to earlier in this conversation, who is Radhi Vandaya, right? And I think tonight for her, it's just, she's all about, answering questions we all have, really thought about. And I think tonight it's, are companies just ticking the mental health box? Let's take a listen.
I think it's a response to what's happening in the environment, the market at the moment. You look at business magazines or journals, everyone's talking about employee engagement now. Mental health is a big topic from a leadership perspective. Leadership vulnerability is a big topic, and it's not like it wasn't there before, but it just brought mental health to the fore. So I think that's what COVID did. It made people aware that everybody's fallible. Everyone can experience mental health issues. So I think at the end of the day, workshops and talks, those kind of things, become a tick box exercise because it's a response to the speak or the rhetoric in the environment. If it is done with the intention of just creating awareness, then you know what, we tick the box. But if it's in response to what's really happening in the organization, that would be more meaningful. So doing the talk is still required. You know what, we want to create an environment where people talk openly about these things. So in a way, it's a tick box exercise because people still have to know about it. But if it's just done, like you said, as a tick box, then the people that are interested in the topic anyway will come, but not really engage. But if it's done with the intention of improving and leadership backing it, the impact is great.
Welcome back, viewers at home. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, but I just loved what Ronald and I were actually engaging in terms of understanding that, mental health illness is not just genetic. And I think he said something that is so powerful that I think I need to look into myself in terms of understanding those traumas as children. What have we done with them? Have we healed our inner child, or we've just looked past that inner child to say they're grown? Probably even their problems have not really grown. Imagine that. But Ronald, unfortunately, we have run out of time. But I would have loved to find out, schedules and so forth around the workspace. But in your closing thoughts regarding our conversation tonight and what our guest has shared tonight, what would you like to close off by?
You need to take responsibility for yourself. And we are so caught in familiarity because our brains are built for survival and for familiarity. We are not built for curiosity. But what if we could bring calm curiosity by neuroscience, which changes the structure of the brain?
Yeah.
That'll enable us biochemically to look after the brain a lot better and our well-being a lot better. So mental health, yes, we are at risk, many people are, but there is an opportunity to thrive. And that's what we need to look at, whether you have a mental health concern or you don't.
Well, viewers at home, I hope that was helpful because it was quite insightful for me. But Jazakallah so much, Ronald, for never failing us every Tuesday and just coming through and really giving us a reality check in terms of how we can be a better society and a better world at that. But viewers at home, that's where we leave it for tonight. Hope you, as a fellow employer or aspiring entrepreneur, know how best to invest in your employees when we're looking at all things mental health awareness in this current month. But for now, let's head over to an ad break. We'll see you just after this.